So I'm going to start off this tutorial by talking about the base a little bit, the pedestal itself, and then the three clear parts. So the first thing to know is that whenever this is all wired and done, that you don't glue the base to here. You're just going to lay it back there, and then you can get at the batteries. The batteries will be sitting in this little cavity right here, and you can see there's a hole in the bottom of the base. Okay, so that's the first thing to know. We get that out of the way. The second thing to tell you is that there is a hole in the back, and you're going to need to run the wires for the switch through there. And I'll explain that when I show you the wiring harness, but that's the hole for the switch. And talk about I'm going to talk about the inserts for the pillars. Okay, so this is a solid piece of clear resin. There's a hole in the bottom of each one, and that's for the LED to sit in. What you're going to want to do is I'm going to suggest that you paint this the brightest silver that you can. So you're going to mask off the top and mask off this rim so you're not getting paint on it. And then you're going to plug up that hole so you don't get any paint down into that hole. And as you can see, it's clear for the light light from the LED to pass through it. There we go. We can see that a little bit better. So you're going to plug that up with something, and then and paint it. What I did was I used a wooden skewer, and I put tape on it so that it would, I could just slip it into the hole and then hold this like a lollipop. And then again, this is all masked off, and then you're going to put several coats of silver paint onto it, bright silver paint onto it. That does a couple things for you. It keeps the light from coming out the sides and then maybe coming out the side of the pillar. You don't want that. And then the other thing that it does is it makes the inside of it a little bit more reflective so that the light will pass through better. The other thing that I did once I was finished with it and let it dry thoroughly was that I used a clear gloss paint on it. Basically, so it allows more of the light to pass through. If you put a matte coat on it, it'll kind of block a little bit of the light. So I put gloss paint on it, and it comes out pretty nicely that way. It allows a lot of light to pass through, especially to the mutant who's standing on this side. The light coming up out of that column sort of illuminates him a bit. But that's all there is to talk about the most of this. I also wanted to say something about the plate here, the front plate. I didn't do anything with. I'm not doing anything with mine. I'm not painting it at all. There's wires inside there a little bit, and this, if you put a matte finish on there, it's better. I didn't do anything with it because it's already kind of matte finishy. It doesn't have a whole lot of. It's not ultra clear. So, and then you're going to use 5-minute epoxy to glue it in place, and you'll glue these in place with 5-minute epoxy as well. Okay, so I'm going to set this off to the side, and I will bring out the wiring harness, and I'll explain it to you and show you how to install it. I'll be back. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick little guided tour through the parts of the lighting kit itself. So you have the two LEDs for the tops of the columns. You have the two LEDs for the inside the cabinet. You have a on and off power switch, and then you have a battery holder. So I'm going to suggest, before you get too involved in installing this, that you become familiar with it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put some batteries into the holder, and I'll just turn it on so you can see how bright the LEDs are. They're pretty bright. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick one of the LEDs inside the pillar lighting element. Okay, the pillar caps, so you can see how much light's passing through there. And then next thing I'm going to do is, now that you kind of want to be familiar with it, the one thing to know about is that the switch detaches from the rest of the wiring harness. It's going to come to you attached, so that whenever you get this, you can put the batteries in it, you turn it on, and it'll work right away. But in order for you to put the switch into the cabinet, I'm going to disconnect it from the harness. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to slip back the pieces of heat shrink tubing that are covering those. They're not shrunk down when you ship them, but after you install them, you're going to shrink them down with a heat gun or a hot hair dryer, or even a Bic lighter will work. You just want to make sure you don't scorch the pieces of heat shrink tubing. But at any rate, to disconnect them, you just grab each one of them, pull them apart. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way, and then there is a nut that is on the switch, and you're going to pull that off. The nut has teeth on it, so it kind of digs into the back of the cabinet there a little bit, and that'll help you out. So all you do is run the wires, turn the cabinet around, run the wires through, pull them through, slip the nut back on the wires, teeth side in. The teeth are facing the back, and then pick it up and thread the nut onto it. There's a little bit of a curvature to the back of that, so when you tighten this down, you can almost get away with thumb tightening it. If you want to tighten it down farther, you can put a wrench up in here, a wrench or slip joint pliers, whatever you have, that crescent wrench, whatever, and you can tighten that down just a little bit more. Don't over tighten it. If you don't want to use a tool on it, then the other thing that you could do is you could, let me zoom in here a little bit. You could simply just put, a drop or two of CA glue around the nut, and that'll hold it in place forever and ever. And that's all there is to that. Okay, and then I'll zoom back out. I'm going to reattach that to the wiring harness. There's no polarity to these contacts. You just want to make sure that you slip them together tightly. I put the heat shrink on the switch side because that wire's longer. So just slip the contacts back together. That's all there is to that. And again, after you've done that, then you will shrink the tubing down. Okay. Then next things to talk about are actually installing this into the cabinet. So the things to know are that, number one, I think I talked about this in the previous section of the video, but what you'll want to do is you're going to want to mount the you're going to want to mount that LED so that it's right on the edge of that hole. Let me see if I can zoom in there a little bit better. You can see better. There you go. So you want to put it on the edge of that hole. So what you're trying to do there is basically keep the lighting inside the cabinet. You try to keep the light inside the cabinet, not up the pillars, because that's what these LEDs are for. So you're going to glue them down with 5-minute epoxy, and then I will show you that. So for the purposes of my little demonstration here, I just put a glue dot on the back of them just to hold them in place temporarily. So you'll put the LED where it goes, hold it in place, let the 5-minute epoxy dry. Try to zoom in on that again. And I can turn this on. Wait, where's my switch? There we go. Right. So you can see about where the LED is placed in there. It's right on the edge, not inside the column, but towards the middle. And you have plenty of clearance in here. You have plenty of clearance in here for the battery holder. At any rate, so you're going to do that on both sides. Shut this off again. You can, if you want to, you can run the wires up through the column. Okay, so I 5-minute epoxy that into place. And then I'm going to run the other wire up for the other LED. I'm running them up and out of the column. And what you're going to do with those is you're going to use insert the LED into the hole and just use 5-minute epoxy around the back edge to encapsulate that and hold that in place. You can set that on top, basically let it dry. Same thing with the other side. 5-minute epoxy, set that on there, let that dry. Okay, so once that stuff is all dried, then you can go ahead and glue these in place. And all you really need to do is put a little bit of epoxy around the edges. I would not suggest using CA glue, because what it'll do is it can craze the glass or the clear part. So I'd use 5-minute epoxy. You could also use canopy glue if you prefer to do that. You can do that as well. So those just sit down. Those will get glued in place. You're pretty much done. The only thing that you have to do is you have to put the battery holder in here. So I'm going to bring the base back in, and what you'll do is you'll just drop this down through there, push the wires towards the back, drop that down into the slot. I do give you a piece of Velcro. So that you can Velcro the battery holder down to there. And once you're done, you want to make sure that you have enough, when you dress your wires up, you want to make sure that you have enough wire to lay this down backwards. And that way you don't have to take the battery holder out, and you don't have to take this whole thing apart. All you have to do is just lay that down. You're pretty much done. And I'm going to do this a little bit more formally. I'll dress it up for you and show you what that looks like, and I'll come back in a couple of minutes and we'll talk some more. All right, I'll be back. Okay, so as you can see, I did a little bit of dressing in the wires, and I wanted to show you a little bit more about that. The thing to know is that if you dress your wires properly, you're not going to see very much of that through the panel. If this was a matte finish on here, you'll see even less of that. The other thing to tell you is that I've given you some tie wraps, basically to hold the wires in place. So before you do that, what I'm going to suggest you do is you put the battery holder down into the base, inside the cabinet, onto the base, and then just press the wires where you want them so that they're not quite so visible. Before you tie wrap them, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take this off of you're going to want to take the pedestal off of the base, and then you're going to make sure that you have enough wire before you put any tie wraps on other places. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. This is not a very elegant thing to demonstrate, but essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take these wires and you're just going to put tie wraps around them. You'll put tie wraps around them. I give you 3 of them so you can bundle them together in a couple places, and then just make sure that you have enough wire hanging out for your pedestal to lay down. And that's all. At that point, it's all everything's been glued together, or the tops of the columns are glued in. So you're done with those, and then you can go ahead and glue the front panel on. And again, 5-minute epoxy, or if you're patient enough, you can use canopy glue to hold that in place. You need to let it dry for about a day if you do that, because canopy glue doesn't hold very well. But 5-minute epoxy will work out well on that. If you use CA glue, it's probably going to craze around there and give you some cloudiness on there that won't be very attractive. At any rate, you can see what that kind of looks like. I don't have my tie wraps installed in there, but once you do, then you won't see any of the wires. So you just have to pay a little bit of attention to that, be patient, and dress that up, and it'll look nice for you. Okay? That's it. If you have any questions about the lighting rig itself or installation or anything like that, feel free to get hold of me in the kit that I sent. I think I put a business card in there, and I'm easy to get hold of on Facebook and through my website at StarlightingProjects.weebly.com. And I hope you enjoy the kit. It was a fun project to work on, and I appreciate you picking it up, and I'm sure Dave does too. So at any rate, that ends the video, and I will talk to you guys the next time. Thanks.